Hi friends, welcome to my channel. I am Sunique, and today I'm doing a hashtag tarot challenge, which is hashtag tarot 7 connections, and I was tagged to do this by the lovely Giselle at Mudwitch on her channel. So yeah, I got myself a cup of coffee. I think I've got everything I need to answer the questions. So yeah, settle in, we're having a chat. Okay. So the first question, are there any types of readings you won't do, and why not? Well, I think every tarot reader should have a code of ethics. I think it's important to have those sort of boundaries in place, and yeah, I have boundaries in place. So I won't read for somebody who's under the influence of, say, alcohol, drugs, whatever. I won't do third-party readings, you know, all the usual things, but I've got nothing specific, nothing special, should I say, not specific, those are specific, but nothing special than anyone else would have. Yeah, so I don't think I've got anything to add to that. I mean, quite early on, I was advised to do that, to actually put these boundaries in place for my own protection, which I think it's a really, really good idea. So yeah, those are the ones that I won't do. So question 2, is there any tarot card, I can't read my own writing. I wrote these questions down and I can't read them. Hold on. I've got a whole notebook here, right? And I was just looking back on some of the entries on my notebook and I'm like, well, what was that about? I don't even know what things we're referencing. I need a better system, I think. Anyway. Is there any tarot card you identify with most, and which is it? I would say it's the Strength card. Let's find a Strength card. Hold on. I make a really nice cover. So yeah, I've got here Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot. Okay, Strength card. For reference, I'm sure everybody knows what the Strength card looks like. Sometimes known as Lust. Okay. I identify with lust. I don't identify with lust. Not right this minute anyway. You're safe. Anyway. Okay. So yeah, the Strength card. So to me, that's all about inner strength. That's all about fortitude, if you like, you know. Which is something I struggled with. Yeah, I think we've all struggled with this, really, haven't we? Finding our own inner strength in this world. Now, this relates to a story, actually, because back in the day, late 90s? Yeah, it would have been the late 90s. In my personal life, I was having a lot of problems with a certain Leo with red hair. At the time, I was on a forum and we were doing a tarot study, and I really can't remember the lady's name, and they were amazing. And we worked together on using this card to help me get through this sort of situation that I was going through, which I'm not going into. Working with this card and with this lady helped me really get through a bad time in my life that I didn't think I'd be able to free myself from. And interestingly enough, this lady asked me if they could include what the things that would come. Oh, how do I say this? They weren't including my personal, you know, you wouldn't do that, would you? Of course not. But drawing from that, an exercise with this card, asked if they could put it in a book they were writing, and I gave permission for that. And that book was published. At the time, I didn't have a lot of funds. I was struggling even to buy food. And so I was never able to actually buy the book. And you know what? I don't know what the book was called. If anyone has an inkling and looks at the Strength card, that was me in that book. And I felt really privileged to have been included in somebody's book, because it made an impact not only on me but also on them, you know, this journey I had with this Strength card. And then, you know, life isn't easy, it isn't easy sailing. Well, mine certainly hasn't been. And this card has always been my rock. So it's not that I identify as the strength card. I don't. I identify with the energy that I need to draw from, that is represented in this image and in the whole ethos behind strength. And I suppose lust does come into it, because it's a lust for survival, a lust for life, a lust to stay here on this planet, and that was being threatened at the time. So we'll stop there with the lust card. Or should I say the strength card that gave me strength? Okay, and on to the next question, which is there any reading that you've ever done that either gave you the chills or impressed you? Oh my God, yeah. Almost every time. I do, when I do my readings with other people, then they are pretty, I'd say 7 times out of 10 are readings without a specific question. And what tends to happen is I lay the cards, I tell the story, and they're like, you've just hit it on the head. Now, that's not, I'm not blowing my own trumpet here. I'm just saying this is what the cards do when I interact with them. And so that blows me away. But obviously I'm not going to share any of those stories. I mean, one happened last week that was just incredible. However, no, I won't share, because that's, you know, part of my code of ethics. I don't share other people's readings ever. So what I will share is a story that happened to me, actually, again, a long time ago. I'm trying to think when it would have been. Probably about 15 years ago. Ish. It's probably about that. And it was a reading that was given to me by a friend. And she used the Witch's Tarot, which I didn't know. I didn't know this deck. And this is by Ellen Cannon Reid. I've got it here. I subsequently bought the deck because I was like, oh, I need that deck for 2 reasons. One was the reading. Now, back step. Actually, the reading wasn't what blew me away. It was one of the cards in the reading, and it's nothing that my friend said about that card at all. It's how I saw that card. When I saw that card, the message, it just came through loud and clear that I was going to have an operation on my reproductive system. I knew it. The card was the High Priest. And the card isn't, you know, if you look at the meanings of the High Priest in this deck, that's not what it means. I'll just show you the High Priest. Right there. Okay. And I say, I didn't know anything about this deck. Didn't have this deck. But when that card came up in the reading, what I saw was a surgeon's knife and my womb. That's what I saw. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to end up in hospital having an operation. And that's actually what happened. Yeah. What's actually happening here is a ritual. So that priest, High Priest, is holding an athame above a chalice. And I didn't know anything about Arthurian legends or, you know, any of the myths at the time. Wasn't aware of them. Since buying the deck, I actually bought the book that went along with it. When was this deck? Let me just see. It tells me when this was published. 1989. It wasn't in 1989 though. Anyway, I bought the book with this one. And this is from 1996. So it's a 6th printing. So yeah. No. It would have been about 2005, I think, when I got this. Anyway, I digress. What I wanted to share with is I wasn't ready for this book. Completely not ready for this big book, because this is all about the Kabbalah. There was no way I was ready for the Kabbalah back then. Since, yes, but even so, it's still a little bit of a difficult read. It doesn't flow. It's not a flowy book. It's got the information in there, but it doesn't flow. But what impressed me about the deck at the time when she showed me the deck, because I wanted to see it all, was the fact that if you lay the cards out, and you need a big space to do this, you can connect them, because if I can show on screen, you've got these sort of round symbols, do you see? And they connect. The one at the top there. And when you connect them up, they form the Sephiroth on the Tree of Life. And so, yeah, it's all about the Kabbalah. So that's, you know, interesting in and of itself. But as I say, I was not ready for the Kabbalah back then. No way. I started looking into it more deeply a couple of years ago when I was looking at Lon Milo DuQuette's book. Trying to connect with the Thoth. I've tried to connect with the Thoth for years. I'm trying to put this back in his box, but he's go. Finish the box. Yeah, that's pretty much that in a nutshell. I think I won't go too far into that, but yeah, if you're interested in Kabbalah, that's not the easiest book to go with, or deck. But it's very interesting, and it also brings in lots of different myths as well. The Fisher King. Anyway, on reading that book, I realised that, yeah, that wasn't Athame, and the chalice can be the goddess, or it can even be the womb. So I was spot on, actually, in what I saw. Not saying my friend wasn't, but she was focusing on different areas during the reading and not on my health. It's just what I actually saw. Let's put this to one side. Talking of Lon Milo DuQuette, I'm rereading it. Although I actually didn't read it through the first time. I listened to him on his Facebook page, reading that book, and that was lovely as I was walking my dog. Looking at this deck at the moment, which is the Tziel Tarot. I think that's how it's pronounced, as I'm doing a bit more in my Thoth studies. Anyway, what's the next question? Which is your preferred system of tarot? Why do you like this system best? Okay. There's two parts to this for me. When I initially became interested in tarot, it was the Thoth that actually drew me in, because those images just can't be beaten. I think Lady Frida Harris was a genius, the way that she interpreted that tarot, but I wasn't ready for it at the time, and so I sort of went with the Rider-Waite-Smith, and I like the Rider-Waite-Smith because it's because of the images, really, because of, oh, sorry, the dog's snoring. He's putting me up into this book. He's old, but he can snore if he wants to, can't he? Yeah, so Rider-Waite-Smith is the deck I read with for other people, primarily. That along with oracle cards. And the reason that I like reading with Rider-Waite-Smith is because there's so many people that have done such an amazing job reinterpreting the imagery, one of which is my poppy painting. I love this deck. Look at that. I mean, you know, if that doesn't scream Five of Swords, what? And they're images that people can relate to in everyday life, can't they? I've also got a version of this where I've chopped all those big borders off. I love that as well. Isn't that amazing for a page of wands? You know, I'm going, you're going to follow. I'm the first one to go. Oh, paint your own picture here. Anyway, yeah, these are just, this is my home deck, this one. There are images in here, don't get me wrong, there's images in here when I'm like, I'm not keen on some of them, but for the majority I think they're amazing, and they really help in client readings, because I'll use these alongside the original Rider-Waite-Smith. And yeah, I use about 4 decks in a reading normally, and they can swap and change, but the ones that always stay in a reading will be the Rider-Waite-Smith, which is the one I start with, this one, and then I'll swap out another 2 decks depending on what I'm doing at the time, and also augment it with oracle cards. The system that I'm not au fait with is the Marseille, and I have tried connecting to the Marseille, but it just doesn't appeal for some reason. Not that I'm adverse to pick cards, I'm not, you know, I think there's some amazing decks out there, and I've got a few Marseille style decks, even French ones, and I've even been to Marseille. But a beautiful place, by the way, well worth going. Anyway, yeah, I just don't seem to be able to connect to the Tarot de Marseille. I mean, at some point when I've got time, excuse me, when I've got time, maybe I'll give it another go. But it doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't call to me. So yeah, Rider-Waite-Smith are the people. For studying Thoth, definitely Thoth, and also sort of Greek mythology type decks. I'm doing a lot of Greek mythology research and enjoying it immensely. Whoa, those gods, wow. Yeah, so I'm enjoying that. And what else do I like? I mean, I love art. Art plays a big place in my preferred decks, and you get the most art styles with Rider-Waite-Smith. You do, you know, there are iterations of all of the systems, but I think the one that's been reimagined the most has been the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. There's some amazing ones around. So, okay. Do you prefer doing in-person readings, remote, or other types, and why? Okay, I prefer in-person. Absolutely prefer in-person, because the connection that you make with a person when you're doing a reading can't be the same as doing it remotely. Now, I think if on a Zoom call, then that's about the closest you can get, really. So yeah, that's okay. I prefer in person. I've done written readings. Oh, they take so much time, and you lose the flow of the reading, really. I mean, yeah, you can go really deep with a reading if you write it out, because you take the time then to analyse. Sorry, I'm shaking the camera. You take the time to analyse that reading, but then does the querent want all that? Do they want to know all the little nitty-gritty bits of a tarot reading, or do they just want an answer? And I think 9 times out of 10, just give me the answer, you know. So I think we get down to the crux of it better in person, because it's in real time. You can react in real time to the messages and how to progress the reading through those messages, if you like, if that makes sense. Makes sense. It does when I'm doing it anyway. Yeah, so I have done those written readings, but I didn't enjoy them really. Besides tarot, are there any other oracular systems you enjoy using? Which ones and why? Okay, so I'm going back in time yet again. Travel back with me in time. And I mean back. My first real serious study, because I couldn't get into tarot when I first started, which was in the 80s, because there wasn't a lot of information out there. There certainly wasn't an internet. And the books were written sort of academically. The ones that I could get my hands on were written very academically, and I didn't want academic books. I just wanted to read the tarot. There was 78 Degrees of Wisdom, but that was a tome. And I don't know, I thought I'd come, because my whole ethos right from the very beginning was spirituality. That's where I'm coming from. And so I was interested in holistic therapies, interested in all that sort of thing. And indeed I trained in all that as well and taught. And how I came about this, I don't know, but I started, actually, when I started proper, I've got some books here to show you, using numerology, because I found these books, and I have no idea where I found them, but I found these Eileen Connolly books. Connolly Book of Numbers, Volume 1 and Volume 2. You see how old they are, look at that, was disgusting really. But yeah, I've had them a long time. So this one was out in 1988. Yeah, 1988, the first one, and then the second one, also 1988. And I studied these two books in depth because at the time I was on my own for 6 months, and so I had enough time to actually really go deeply into these. And then the internet came along and I started doing readings numerically, typing them out and delivering them. So yeah, that's actually how I did start out, but I don't think I could do that with tarot readings anymore. But yeah, I did do it with the numerology readings, and they were fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And then through the numerology, I actually then found Tarot for Yourself, which is around somewhere, but it's the original one. It's not, it's the original cover. And I started working through that because that started off with the numerology, and I was like, oh wow, maybe this is a way into the tarot that I couldn't find before. So I went heavily into that book, and I still use that book actually. And then through that, the same person that wrote these books also wrote, oh, look at these 3 books. So we've got the Complete Handbook for the Apprentice. Then we have the Handbook for the Journeyman. And then we have the first Handbook for the Master, which I've never got through. These are hard books, really. At the time, everything was a difficult book. Oh, look at this. What have I got here? I've got flashcards that I've done. Look at these. Oh, numerical ones. Oh, look at that. Oh, that'll come in useful. Yeah, and that's how I started going back into tarot. So what this one does, and I don't actually always agree with the meanings in here either, but yeah, it breaks down a card, reversed and right way up. Yeah, and then it's got little rhymes for you to remember the card with. So here we go. They're like little memory verses. So for the 4 of Cups, it's discontent, feel quite alone. Experience has no profits shown. That's how you memorise the card. I don't think I'd recommend these books. They were what were available at the time. So yeah, in a roundabout way, that's how I got back into tarot, was actually through numerology. What solidified your connection with the tarot? I can't pinpoint an exact time or an exact occurrence that solidified it. It's been organic, it's been through experience and study and playing. I've done a lot of art as well with the tarot, photography, lots of different things. It's opened lots of different avenues for me, but it's been a gradual process. It's taken years and years and years. You know, it hasn't been something that I've thought, there's a tarot deck, there's a book, I'm going to learn it, because there wasn't those options back at the time. Obviously now, what is the ice cream man? Obviously now there's a lot more available, and if I was coming at it now, then it would be my story would be completely different. My life would be completely different. I'm totally aware of that. It's allowed me to journal things out, and I'm sorry about the ice cream. Anyone want one? Would you like a vanilla with a flake in it? You know, 99. I'll go and get one for you if you want. It's just outside. Anyway, yeah. What solidified your connection with the tarot? I don't know. It's just been organic. There have been moments, you know, like I told you with the Strength card and with the High Priest card, when it reflected back to me something that I wasn't aware of consciously, but subconsciously I was. And so it's done that. But I think it's just solidified over time, to be fair. I don't think there's any one thing that I can say that, you know, there was a wham moment. It was, yeah, organic. Anyway, I've rattled on for far too long. I hope that's helpful to somebody. If anyone's actually really interested, then yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, and until my next video. Bye, friends.